back. Welcome, everyone, back to Filming in Progress. Jor-El's laughing over here because we haven't made an episode in a long time.
You said boo. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's Jor-El Washington with my host, Esai. And we have an awesome guest today. A guest that we've been trying to get on for probably 2 years now, I would say, honestly.
Is this why you haven't filmed an episode in 2 years?
I think so.
Yeah, you're the reason why.
You're the reason why.
You're the single reason
You're
why.
the only reason why we have not filmed this episode. Because we knew if we filmed Kevin's episode, that we'll probably boost back into the stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Kevin Mellon, everybody.
Woo! Hold on. We got a button for that. Oh, hold on. Wrong one.
I bet you.
It's been so long, you need to label your...
Drop a bomb from Kevin.
All right, yeah, we'll drop a bomb for Kevin. I can't hear. We forgot headphones today, but he's behind the mic.
Oh, yeah, you can't hear it, so I pushed the laugh track on accident. So
That's perfect, actually. Don't edit that
Oh,
out.
my goodness.
well, yeah, we actually don't cut. That's one of our rules.
Yeah, we don't cut.
Yeah,
I
I'm a big fan of that.
So
We had no, we never even quacked, did we?
we never released that episode.
We never released the episode. That's hilarious. No, man, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. We really do
happy to be
appreciate it. Let's just dive right in real quick and just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how'd you get to where you are right now?
Well, I took a car.
Down which highway, though?
Hold on, where's the laugh track? There it is.
Okay, so it's top right? Okay, cool.
So then he's just going to reach over.
Yeah, literally.
No, like everybody, long meandering journey. Started drawing as a kid. Immediately wanted to tell stories. So my whole the through line, you'll notice as we chat, is a lot of my stuff is story based. Everything is about, are we telling a story, and are we problem solving for that story? But yeah, and I started making my own comics as a kid. It's like making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan comics. Like I would take 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, fold them in half, staple them, and then just start drawing cover page one. I didn't know how comics were made, so I just thought that's how they were, how they were made. And then ended up drawing hundreds and hundreds of pages of comics. But by the time I got out of high school, I was in a band at the time and had no intentions of going to college. The band broke up, as bands always do. And then I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? My parents wanted me to go to school. I didn't want to deal with the bullshit of regular college stuff. I didn't want to take fucking math because math fucking sucks, stuff like that. I was going to do art, obviously, but I didn't want to sit there and do art history. I'm like, I can read a book and get art history. I don't need a class for this.
Wait. Tell America what you do, actually. I didn't even think about that.
Sorry, yeah. I am Kevin Mellon. I am a director, writer, storyboard artist, comic book author, and illustrator, and musician. So, yeah.
Wow.
Does a lot.
Yeah. Well, that leads into I had heard of this thing called the Kubert School. It still exists. It was started in the late 70s by Joe Kubert. He was a longtime DC Comics artist. Did a lot of, mostly famous for Sergeant Rock and doing a bunch of Tarzan and stuff like that. But he started the school in the late 70s because he saw there was a need for that sort of thing. And I ended up going there in 99 to 02. It's a 3-year college. I went there and I chose it specifically. It wasn't in Kansas City because at the time I had a very kind of negative outlook on living here, and that's thankfully has changed. But it's very much you don't know what you got until it's gone. And I needed that time away, and also I just needed to grow as a person. So went to college in New Jersey. Loved that. Loved being able to go into Manhattan all the time. But also it's like it's kind of funny because every college has attrition. Like freshman year, you start off with so many, and then by senior year, it's a lot less. Yeah. We started off with my class; it was like 75 people, and we graduated like 12 of us. So and I'm still friends with probably like 10 of them.
That happens because we had the same. Well, I mean, honestly, with my film progression, I would say film school. I started off with probably about 30, 40, 50 kids, and only maybe like 10 of us. I mean, honestly, throughout the whole program, I only know 10 of us to be working out of the 8-year program.
That's the thing, too, is like, of those of us that graduated, I would say that maybe 6 or 7 are actively working in the arts as a career, and then some of the other ones are just kind of tangential, or their main job is not that, but they still do it as a passion on the side, that sort of thing. Okay. Which I could say that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I'm in a weird place where, we can get to it, but I'm in a weird place where I'm working like a shitty part-time job, and I've just been shooting videos and directing stuff on the side and making comics on the side. But I did just sign a contract to do a new graphic novel, so it's kind of
let's go.
But, yeah, anyways, so yeah, I graduated school, and then as I'm sure you both can relate to, is like you don't graduate and immediately everyone's throwing money and jobs.
Oh, he dropped out.
Yeah, I didn't finish film school. I got out of there. I was
Do
like,
you even film, bro?
here's why I dropped out, because I understood like the techniques we were learning and how to apply them. But I was like, how the heck do you make money?
Right.
Like, even when I was in film school, I was like, how do we take what we learn here and go actually make money? And I went to my professor after class. I'm not going to drop his name.
You don't have
But I went up to him and I was like,
Well, you're
hey,
going to edit this, so you can always beep it out.
I could.
I'm kidding. You don't want to give yourself more work.
See, I like where your mind's at. It's an editor mindset. No, but literally I went up to him and I'm like, hey, like, I understand like what this is all about. Like, I get like how we're supposed to light and shoot and the techniques, history, whatever. But it's like, how do we make money? Like, you know what I mean? And he looked at me in the eyes and he said, honestly, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is why I'm a professor. And he's like, this is why like I teach. Like, you know, he's like, a lot of people don't make it. So like, have a backup plan.
Yeah. For a long time, you know, it's like I had that misnomer in my mind, because you hear that phrase of those that can't do teach. Mm-hmm. And that's fucked up. Like, I realize now, but at the time I thought I was like, oh, teaching's like for failures. And it's like, no, teaching is because it's really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what area you're in, like I was soft offered an opportunity to teach at a college around here, like, you know, a couple weeks ago, and it fell through, but I was sitting there going like, yeah, I will make it work, because that will be steady income, and I won't be schlinging at a fucking part-time shitty job like I am right now.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of actors out in LA substitute teach and all that. And then Chris Rail, another colleague of mine, he just started teaching out of college. And it's crazy because I've been just heading out to Cleveland recently for a project with Chris, and him having his students on site too, and them being like, "Oh, Mr. Rail," and being like, "Oh, that's weird." Like, no, he's Chris, guys. You don't call him
Yeah.
Mr. Rail here.
Yeah.
Like, this is a set. This is a film set. He is Chris here.
The other thing I realized about teaching, and this is totally tangential to what we're talking about, the other thing I realized about teaching is it's what I do already. Yeah. I am directing and working with people. I'm teaching them how to make the show, that sort of thing. And I was taught how to make the show. You know what I mean? Like I can fast forward. Like, I'll get to my point here in a second, but like took me a while to get steady work. It took me a while to break into making comics. And the thing is like the thing that I learned that all applies to everything, and I think you guys know this, is there is no breaking in. You just make stuff and then you're in. Like, that's how you get in. It's like, do you want to be a comic book artist? Make one. You're a comic book artist. Do you want to write a novel? Write one. You're a novelist. That sort of thing. Yeah. So I started making graphic novels, getting work, comic book illustration, stuff like that. And then got the opportunity to work on Archer. And we can talk about that, but I'll get to the point that I was trying to get to is like my first full season on Archer was season 4. And that was essentially second college. It kicked my ass, rebroke everything I thought I knew about storytelling and all that stuff, and put it back together in a much more like we can build it, we can make it stronger, that sort of thing. Is like, like basically it turned me from like someone who had a lot of comic books. When you're learning to illustrate them, you're often learning from other comic book artists. A lot of bad habits just get passed on. And comic books are a completely separate medium and language than film and TV. They may share a Venn diagram of things, but they are two completely different interactive experiences with the audience and with creation. So I say comics has a lot of bad habits. It's more comics has a lot of bad habits if you're trying to work in other mediums.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So,
Gotcha.
But yeah. Anyways.
So no, what'd you have?
No, I was just going to add on to that. Like, I think one thing that's really cool about our podcast right now is that we get to give potential students, people that are learning the industry, like a peek behind the curtain where it's like, because everyone's on YouTube University, everyone's trying to learn the technique and the skills and they're practicing, but it's like hearing the stories of like how people actually are able to make it a career and actually able to like make money off of it and survive. Like, I think that's valuable and isn't talked about enough in like traditional schooling.
Yeah. Easy thing is like, so my first graphic novel came out in 2006 and 2007, came out as a 4-issue series and then was collected. And then that was me and my co-creator on it. We're like, this isn't our passion project. This is a business card. Yeah. We need people to take us fucking seriously because there's a lot of people who say they make comics and then they never have anything new or they don't show you anything. So it's like people went from being like, oh, these kids who we're going to ignore to being like, oh, these guys are fucking serious. All right, you can hang with us, that sort of thing, And they weren't being cliquey or whatever. It's like there's so many people who are very unserious, And it's like, how many times we talk about this all the time privately, but it's like flaky people or people that like, they show up for a second and then the minute it's not about them, like that. Yeah. Because they don't actually want to do the work. And that's the thing that
you just want to be seen.
Yeah.
To see it.
Yeah. So yeah, and so once it's like once we took it seriously, so we were taken seriously, and then that just led to me doing more graphic novels and more illustration work, and then I was a big fan of Frisky Dingo, the show that was the guys who'd made Archer did before Archer. Okay. It was a Cartoon Network. No, it was an Adult Swim show. It's got like a big giant weird alien looking white.
I know the cartoon.
Yeah. So I loved that show. It's still
okay.
one of if I have it on Dropbox, I'll send it to you. But it's still one of my favorite shows.
I was gonna ask you, is that the show that kind of shifted you?
No, it's the show. No, not at all. I had no desire to work in TV at all. I remember taking animation in college and being like, "This is bullshit. I'm never going to work in this."
That's
little did I know. So, and the funny thing is, and this I haven't talked about this a lot, but I had an assassin monkey character. This was well before Hitmonkey existed. That I did for some animation project and did for senior projects in school. I have the pages still. It's a Hitmonkey assassin. The biggest difference is he wears a gas mask, and that came from my buddy Ed.
So wait, which one do you want?
Let's keep. So I got the job. So I was a big fan of Frisky Dingo, and then they announced that they were making Archer, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I love this, And so big fan of the first 2 seasons. Second season premiered on my birthday that year, and I said, hey, fuck yeah, thank you. Thanks for the birthday present, Archer people. And my future boss found that tweet, replied, said, you're welcome, did it just for you, something like that, He was being funny, And then so I started following him, and then I would respond to stuff as he was, tweeting throughout the year. And then at one point, he put out a call saying, hey, we need storyboard artists here in Atlanta, And I just literally my at reply to him was, oh, fuck, I wish I could apply for this. Because I was here in Kansas City, working on comics, doing all that sort of thing. He starts following me and messages me and says, hey, I'm familiar with your work. Let's see what we can do.
See, kids, persistence is the key.
But also it's shoot your shot.
Yeah, that too. 100%.
Shoot your shot.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid to get a no.
This is when they tell you, just go make it.
Everyone wants to tell you no. Well, they say they're looking to say yes, but so many things make it easy to say no. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where, he was a big comic fan. He was aware of my work. I don't know if he'd bought any of it before or whatever, but he was just aware of me. Gotcha. So there was this person is serious. Again,
you had a presence. Yeah.
So I took the test. He sent me a storyboard test. I took it. He sent me back several paragraphs long email of everything that I'd done wrong. And then at the end said, we're going to hire you on a part-time basis.
Wait, so what's the real quick, just side note, what's the storyboard test?
So you get a bit of script, like anywhere from 1 to 6 pages, stuff like that. And then you basically, you break it down and you storyboard it out so that they can see your thought process and what you do. And it's like, oh, you're not ready, or and from their standpoint, it was he can get there. He's not there now. He can get there. He just needs our help, that sort of thing. And
talent.
Yeah. Because again, comics is one thing, storyboarding is another. In comics, you have the whole package that you can hold, and you determine the pace at which you do things. You can sit there, much like a novel, but with comics, because there's a visual, it's much easier to spoil stuff. Right. You can sit there and you can open it to page 80. And then go back to page 1. And now you've got that information in your head, whether you wanted it there or not. You know what I mean? But also you're looking at panel 1. But as a human, as we intake things, you're not just seeing panel 1 and the dialogue in panel 1. You're also seeing the panels next to it and all that. And especially when you're looking at 2 pages together, even though you have to read right to, you're still taking all that in. Your mind is also filling in the gaps between the panels as to what's going on. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that the reader unknowingly does, but does willingly, because we choose to engage with this medium. TV, film there is no interaction with the audience other than if you don't feel something, you move on. You stop it. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to fast forward 10 minutes just to see if it gets any better.
That's true. That's true.
I have done that before, though.
Me too.
Yeah. But the point, though, is...
Exactly. I've done it with, Netflix, Netflix, trash TV.
Yeah.
I do it with YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
YouTube's a different.
That is a different medium.
That's a different medium. Yeah, different.
Because if you're watching the informational videos, hold on, let me skip all this nonsense. Let me get to the real.
I want to get to the part where he shows me. Yesterday, me and my girlfriend were taking apart a ceiling fan and putting a new one up, and then she looks up a video, and this guy spends the first 5 minutes talking about his life, and it's like, okay.
How long have I been putting ceiling fans together? Let me tell you about it.
And then it's kind of like, well, in the previous video, you heard me talk about this. And it's like,
get to it. Where's the wire go to?
Yeah. You're telling me I got to go back and watch this other video now? But no, it's and that's one of the things that I love about the difference between the mediums. But that's as much as I love working in TV and film and stuff like that, I think comics is the perfect medium. I think it's the perfect audience interaction thing. It's the perfect storytelling thing, because there's been several people that have said it, but like everything is comics. When you are reading a street sign, that's a comic. You know what I mean? When you're looking at the airplane thing where it tells you how to, that's a comic book. Like when you are, when the stoplight goes from green to red, not the green, but the walk to don't walk, that's a comic, because it's telling you information and you're interacting with it. You know what I mean?
Manuals, literally every single manual.
Yeah, like the putting the ceiling fan together is a comic book. Yeah.
Dang, I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, every and it's like, that's why like interpretations vary, which is what I love as well, because even as concrete as a drawing and words inside it are, you still interpret it differently, which is why we're still sitting there going like, did the Egyptians really mean this? You know what I mean? Because like they have buildings developed to making fucking comic books. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that's not how archaeologists would see it, but fuck them. Like I think there's a reason why the first forms of like broad mass communication were paintings on walls and carvings and stuff like that. And it's like, you don't get that stuff without trying to solve a problem. And solving that problem is conveying information. And that to me is why it's, anyways. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Just thinking about comics and like how it really is a snapshot, right? It's like a snapshot that can give you so much information and can vary on who's interpreting it. Like I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's this is the dumbest example, but it's the blue dress, gold dress thing.
Oh, God.
It's the same fucking picture.
Blue or gold?
But people are interpreting it literally based on their color perception.
Yeah.
Like that can influence something. Because if I'm making a comic book that is in full color, but somebody has a red-green deficiency, they're going to read something that, say I do something that's emotionally red in the visual, they're not going to see that. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's like, and not to say that I think about this stuff all the time. I'm just saying that this is how granular you can get.
Yeah.
Right. But we also, anyways, yeah.
No, I love deep diving into that, because that's so like
I could spend the next 45 minutes just talking about that. So
the dress thing, like people were so angry about that, like in the comments, like that took over like the internet for weeks.
People were mad for 5 years already.
They're still mad. I'm still mad. No. What I realized during that whole thing is what it boiled down to is, and this is such a shitty way to put it, but we don't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like 100%. People don't want to be told that their perception and how they see something is wrong. And we're seeing that every day now. But at the time, it was much.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
No, so pulling back. So what did, I mean, you might have said it. I might have missed it. What did get you wanting to do anime? Like what finally like pushed
Working on Archer. It was my favorite TV show.
Yeah.
It's like, so literally I would not have the path that I've had if I wasn't such a massive fan of that show.
And Archer led then.
So
Archer led to Hit Monkey.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, so through the course of, I moved down to Atlanta.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Let's talk about how you landed like your favorite TV show and got to work on it. Like that is such a unique.
The fact that you were DMing the boss.
Yeah, so that was the thing. Is like, yeah, awesome. he I did the public at reply of like, oh fuck, I wish I could do this. He messaged me, and then they hired me to work part-time on season 3. So I was in Kansas City. So I worked on, probably I started middle of season 3. First episode, I believe, was the one that's like the Canadian train episode where they're fighting. There's the shootout with the Mounties. Wow, I think that was my first episode. And then so I remember I was doing like, I would be at comic conventions and I'd have to like dip out of not hang out at the after parties and stuff because I had to go get Archer stuff, Archer boards done, or go have a meeting.
The stories you told me is crazy.
How does that work? Like, are you in Kansas City working on these and sending them to him?
Yeah. So it's all digital. So yeah, I'm just, and I didn't really have a process. I got a process once I moved there, but like, so I just was kind of winging it and getting feedback from, it's Neil, my boss, and Neil and Chad were my bosses, and I texting with them yesterday and today. Like we still, it's like, even though I haven't lived there for 2 years, but yeah. So at the end of season 3, Neil sends me an email saying like, hey, we really dig your stuff. You've got some, we really think, you could do this. It's just, but he's also like, I'm fully aware that you have this comic career going on. If you come and do this, you're kind of going to have to put that aside, So, but if you want to come down, you've got a spot and we want you on season 4. And so I took a while to think about it because he asked me, he's like, don't make a decision now. You have this long to think about it.
He gave you time to think about it. That's respect.
How do you, so for people that are like in that crossroads, like what were you weighing to make a decision?
What I was weighing is I had done some Marvel work, not a lot, maybe about a dozen pages or so. And all of my contemporaries, my peers and friends, they were going that route. But I wasn't passionate about it. Like I enjoy all that stuff. Grew up on Marvel Comics, and stuff like that. And making comics is a passion. But I didn't feel like making Marvel Comics was my passion, I mean, right now I'm broke, so I'll take anything. But it's funny how that changes.
That's all artists are.
Well, and I was broke then too, but I was making livable money, living in a shithole apartment off Main by Ponchos. Yeah, it's a hotel now. But it was like $400 a month. Like it was so cheap and so I loved it. I had no furniture. I was just, I was in that space where I had like a couch. And I had only
apartments building across the street from Ponchos.
Yeah, it's a hotel now. So it was a hotel in the 20s, and then it became apartments, and it was really bad, drug infested. And I went in right after they had kicked everyone out. And then they repainted everything, remodeled everything. Yeah, it's like a Hilton, not a Hilton, but whatever. It's like something else.
That's crazy. I know what you're talking about.
Like when I had moved in, they had. I was talking to the property manager, and she's like, "No." I was like, "Well, I'm an artist. I don't really have steady income, but I have money. I can prove to you that because I'd just been paid for a graphic novel, all that stuff." And she's like, "No, we want more people like you here because we just kicked everyone else out because they were a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff like that." The funny thing is and they basically ended up moving in a lot of gay dudes. So like for whatever reason. So like eventually like while I was there, like a pride flag ended up outside the front and all that, letting it know it was like a safe space, But I would wake up and like I'd be up at like 3, not wake up, but I'd be up at 3 a.m. drawing, have the windows open during the summer, and I would just hear these dudes just fucking fighting, being catty with each other and shit. It was the funniest shit, dude. Like bitch, and just it's hilarious. It's so good though. It's awesome. Like it was a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah. So I was doing that. So I made use the Crossroads. So I was sitting there going like, okay, TV. I've said this before, and my boss is always kind of going to be like, what? But TV shows don't last. They eventually get canceled or they end, stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I can do this for a year and then go from there. Because I was like, well, I can do this for a year. And then because I'd been wanting to move to like Chicago or Portland or something, somewhere not Kansas City, right. Just to have different experiences. And I had never, one of the biggest reasons aside from loving music and playing music and songwriting is I had wanted to travel. And stupidly, I still don't travel. But that was kind of the idea, Like, I traveled more doing comics because you're doing conventions around the country. Right. So that was always cool, And I was just like, fuck it, I can do this for a year. Like, so I just packed up all my shit. And it was funny because there's 2 guys living here now. A buddy had put me in touch. Shout out to John Lucas. He was like, hey, my buddies are thinking about Kansas City. Can you show them around? So I was like, yeah, come up. They can just sleep on my floor. Tell them to bring sleeping bags, and I'll show them around. So I did that. That was right when I had gotten the email about possibly working on season 4. So a month later, they moved up, helped me pack up their shit, helped pack up my shit, and I left as they moved.
Oh, they moved into your spot?
No. They moved into their own spot. But they got there, and a week later, I was out.
Wow.
But we're still good friends. Like, they're awesome dudes. Yeah, shout out to Matt and Adam. But yeah, so I'm very much kind of one of those people. Sorry if I spit on you there. I'm very much kind of one of those people where the things I get afraid about are stupid, but when it comes to big stuff like that, I'm just like, fuck it all in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm doing. There's the only thing. What's the worst can happen? I tuck my tails and I have to move back in with my parents. That sort of thing. Like, unfortunately, they're in a place where I would have been able to do that had things gone haywire.
Right.
But, yeah. So, and so that's the Crossroads was creatively, and also I had been through a bunch of bad creative decisions anyways, and I took on a lot of gigs, a bunch of comics gigs for money. And so I did a bunch of bad work that I have never put on my resume. I will not talk about. It's whatever. But it's like, and so if you're looking at something and you're seeing it, like, okay, there's probably about 4 or 5 things that Kevin's done that are not listed because
Yeah.
The thing is though, is that fucked me because every time I make a decision just for solely for money, it always goes bad. It always goes south. And it's one of those things where like, so I took on a gig where I had to do like 2 issues of a comic in like 2 weeks, and that's 2.5 months worth of work. But I did it super fast, and then they still didn't pay me on time. So it fucked me. So taking on this thing to get quick money and to pay my rent and all this other stuff still fucked me. You know what I mean? So So I learned, and I'd gone through a bankruptcy just because stupid 20s credit card decisions and stuff like that. Because, you miss one payment and then all of a sudden you can't make any payments because it's sky high, that sort of thing.
So I'm curious, like for people that are interested in like comic books or getting into this realm of like, storyboarding, illustrations, whatever it is, like how does that business model work? Like, because with us in production, like there's day rates or there's flat rates.
Sure.
For something like that, how does that work?
It's usually page rates for comics, and then for boards, it's hourly or weekly. Where for boards, it's more similar to production. It's like there is hourly, but there's also day, week.
I feel like a board is more like you treat a storyboarder like an editor in a way.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. For comics, it's page rate though, so it's like there's and it's production. You can. I'm an all-in-one guy. Like I do every aspect of production, but a lot of times it's separate, especially for Marvel, bigger production stuff like that. In order to keep the trains running on time, there's a writer separate from the penciler, separate from the inker, separate from the color artist, separate from the letterer, separate from the editor, separate from the production person who puts the whole package of the book together, and all of those are page rates essentially. So it's like the average, like say, for like a Marvel or DC, my page rate would run anywhere from $300 to $400 per page. But that's also me doing penciling, inking, and probably color. So does that make sense? But for indie comics, it's much, much less. Like I have done work for the lowest one I did was I got 500 an issue, which because the issues were all oversized ended up being about $7 a page. So. I was also working at a Pizza Hut at the time, so. But how many productions have you worked on where that's essentially what it's been?
Essentially what it is.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. You can't. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. That's the budget. That's the product.
And if you have a choice,
that
you can
choose
say not to do it.
You can definitely say no, but
and that's the thing is I would always weigh. I prefer to do low budget stuff like that if it's all mine. I always fucking get mad whenever I listen to podcasts, and here I am doing it. Sorry. It's always preferable for me if I'm going to do it for nothing, then I better own it.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean?
Last like 2 years in independent film. If it's not yours.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I've had projects come to me where they're like, we can offer you this much for whatever, and I'm like, well, that's not enough for me to do it if I'm not owning any, if I don't get any juice out of it,
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about it because like I always, when people ask me like how I got into the industry and how that works, I'm like, you'll see quickly like if you really love it, because we'll take on jobs like that in the early stages where we're like, we'll take on like whatever it is.
Whatever you can.
And it makes no sense monetarily, but it's like, I'd rather do this than work at Pizza Hut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that too. And there's also it's literally how do you build your people? How do you build your community? And it's like you have to find your community, find your people. And then eventually it becomes a thing of like the graphic novel that I just signed a contract to do. The person who hired me, he's hired me for a couple of things before, but I've known him for 20 years. So it's one of those things where, and it's not any sort of like, it's not nepotism or whatever the term is for, but it's one of those things where it's like, he knows my skill set. He knows what I can do. He likes working with me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. But it's also about like, I've got the right project for you. That's huge. And there's stuff that I've learned that I just can't go after something that it's like why I can't be a salesperson. Like I can't sell something I don't believe in. Right. But I can. I believe in on my good days I believe in me.
It's probably why it was easy for me to sell kitchens because I was so creative about it.
Yeah.
When I was working at Home Depot in the kitchen design.
That's the thing is like sense. You have to. There's something. I was actually just talking about this with somebody the other day. They were asking me like what the hardest project I worked on at the Floyd County was, and I was like, well, there's this pitch pilot that came in that I just hated. And I remember having conversations with my boss about it, and he's like, dude, I know it fucking sucks, but you got to find your in. He's like, and I'm struggling too, but I never found my in. It was awful, and working on those few weeks, months, or whatever of working on that pitch pilot was just soul sucking. And I realized that like even in doing something I love, you can still have things that. They're just such not like just I wasn't a good fit for it. I knew it wasn't going to pick up like. So I was just negative, you know what I mean? Damn. So, and that happens, but you have to, like, now it's just a matter of, like, especially now where I don't have, like, super steady income and everything's spotty and stuff like that. It's like, I still have to be, like, I can't let the money get in the way. Because otherwise it's going to fuck me, Yeah. And real quick, I came up with the three things that like I asked myself, because I had like a complete breakdown in like late 2009, somewhere around then, where I was just frustrated by everything and had to reformat. Like I had changed my drawing style. I was just so like in a bad place with everything that I was just like, all right, I had to rework my mentality about it to these three things, which is, will it make me a better artist? Will it make me a better person? And can I contribute meaningfully?
Yeah.
The trick is, if you answer one, the other two generally get answered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then it's like, okay, what are you paying me?
Yeah.
That last question.
Yeah.
No, take us through, so with like the wackiness and goofiness of Archer
Sure.
that we all know and love.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through like that process of maintaining the action and the humor and just like the storyboarding that process too.
No, and it is a difficult balance, but the balance is made infinitely easier when the guy writing the show is one of the funniest writers in the world. Like it helps when it's on the page, you know? We didn't, and the other thing, a good anecdote, I get there, I move there, I'm working, doing all these boards, doing fucking like cool shots, cool sequences, you know, and then watching the animatic and being like, where the fuck's all this cool shit I did? It's not in there, you know? Right. And this is what I've kind of forced myself to become friends with. He's fucking love the dude now. He's one of my good friends, the editor. Shout out to Pierre. But I kind of just was like, all right, man, we got to talk. Like, and it didn't go down like this. I'm being a little facetious, but I just was like, so, you know, I was just like, what the fuck? I drew all this shit that's not in there. And he's like, yeah, it's cool shots, man, good drawings, but the joke is king, and it stepped on the joke. And that it instantly was like, oh, I've been going about this all wrong. You know what I mean? I knew the show was funny, but it wasn't sitting there. And when you have that as your north, everything else starts to fall away, or in line. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So it's like, and even though the show got way more action heavy, like it really started with that the crew of boarders, like me and 2-3 other dudes who were on really started season 4. We were comic guys, so we brought a comic, like, so a comic sensibility of like not telling it like a comic, but just like exaggeration and feel and all that, you know, because the show itself has a 60s comic vibe
from the start of it. You already get comic vibes,
but the boards, you know, we really were like sitting there and just really focusing on like executing them at a high level, you know, like there was way more drawing went into those boards than needed to be, but that we were comic guys, so we were used to just doing a lot of work in a very short amount of time. Gotcha. You know, because it's just, and so really, I mean, really we just fucked ourselves because we couldn't shit out anything. Because anytime we tried to be like, no, this doesn't look as good as the other ones, you know. Yeah. Which kind of went away. We backed ourselves into that corner, but then by the time we got into later seasons of Archer, less so on Archer, more so on Hitmonkey, because of the level of production and the amount of boards, because each episode of Hitmonkey was about the equivalent of 2 to 3 Archer episodes as far as like locations, action, stuff like that. Okay. So it just was so much more intense. We couldn't do these nice, pretty boards.
And it was a different style of
yeah. But yeah. So yeah, my first year on Archer was just basically re-breaking everything I thought I knew about storytelling. And also I'm sitting there working with people who like are, you know, they're phenomenal storytellers, you know, and they really understood like the point of a lot of stuff, or they would find creative ways. I'm sitting here doing, like, I remember working on a scene in Midnight Ron, which is where Archer and Ron are kind of on the run from some biker gang with money issues and all that stuff. But there's a shot where they're trying to hop on a train or something, and I had just done like a very basic them going, you know, down in the valley, and then the train's coming by. I go in one day, and Chad, the associate art director, is redoing that shot, and I'm just like, oh man, you're redoing that shot, and I look at it, I was like, oh, that's way better, because it was like shooting past the blurry train, and then in between the little slits of open, you see them kind of come down. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, oh, that's fucking cool, you know? Yeah. Like, and I learned a lot about stuff like that, and it's stuff that I would do in comics, but I just, for whatever reason, you know, I just hadn't gotten to that place of like really exploring those sorts of storytelling. A little quick, like it's such a quick thing to do, because what I didn't realize from a production standpoint, the shot that I had initially done required full figure animation going down, and then a 3D train coming, coming on the other side. And so he's going like, okay, we can paint a couple cars, blur the shit out of it, and then I'm hiding the actual walk through, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, not only is it a creatively better shot, it's a production-wise, it's a cheaper thing to do.
Execution is easy.
Okay. So if you want to talk about what storyboarding really is, it's about vision and cost. You want to show everybody what it's supposed to be, and you want to figure out how much it's going to be. So like boarding on, and this is fast forwarding a little bit, but I got to work on bunch of live action, so I did Vampire Diaries, Black Lightning, Legacies, a bunch of Dynasty.
CW nonsense.
I love CW, bro. Smallville's my favorite show of all time.
CW.
So
Yeah. So I'm everything I worked on, I'm a fan of. Other than, I liked Dynasty fine, but I didn't really watch that one.
Vampire Diaries was my shit.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
But so that job, again about the just being in the right place, right time, was hanging out at a bar in East Atlanta, and a girl came over the table to bum a light. To bum a light. It's back when smoking was still allowed inside. But she came over to bum a light, and she got to talking to us at the table. And she's like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a storyboard artist." And she's like, "Shut the front door. I'll be right back." She goes and grabs her friend. Her friend comes over, and she's like, "Are you a storyboard artist?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "If you're any fucking good, I'll hire you right now." And I'm like, "What do you do?" She's like, "I'm a producer on Vampire Diaries."
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's fucking
unfortunately,
right place, right time, right.
And
everything.
the lady who was with her was set deck. So
wow.
And so she couldn't get me hired for they were doing season 5 at that point. It was a little too late in the day, a little too late in the season. So but the other thing too is, if and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but it's a union production. Georgia's a right-to-work state, right, and I'm non-union. Mm-hmm. So,
same with Kansas, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Kansas, Missouri's right-to-work as well. And I don't have an opinion on any of that shit that I'll share publicly, but I don't give a fuck,
Right.
But so what she had to do though was she had to prove to the CW that she had exhausted all the options.
And all the union options to get to you.
Yes.
Got you.
And so she did that, and she liked me and she liked my work. So she's like, I'm getting you on the show. So and that's how I ended up and this is where I'm stupid, but I was working 40 to 50 hours a week on Archer, and then I ended up taking on another 20 to 40 hours a week doing Vampire Diaries. And while I didn't board every single episode of those seasons, I was boarding about every other episode. And I'm not boarding full episodes, which is the point I want to get to.
Okay.
But what were you going to say?
No, but you're still collecting salary from both.
Yeah, and I didn't save any of it, which is I'm kicking mad at myself now.
But the connections will always still be there.
Well, and that's the thing is I got to work on Black Lightning because the production company that made Vampire Diaries made the pitch pilot for Black Lightning and then ended up backing out. But Salim, the creator of the show, liked me, so he kept me on.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You did all...
I did season 1 and a little bit on season 2 of Black Lightning. Okay. So, yeah, and I did season 6, 7, and 8 of Vampire Diaries.
So did you say you weren't doing the whole episodes? You were doing like scenes?
Yeah. So that's which gets back to the long-winded way of getting to the point that I wanted to make, which is boarding is about vision and cost. So when you're especially live action and you're directing, the point of storyboarding or previs and all that is to get what is in your head out and for the other 100 to 200 people who need to understand how to make this show. So that's how I view my role. The other thing too is a lot of, especially with a VFX heavy shows like Black Lightning and Vampire Diaries and stuff like that, and Legacies is you're showing everyone what they need to do. So does this need to be stunts? Does this need to be CG? Can the actor be in this? Do we need a double? Stuff like that. How much is this a practical effect? Is this, CG, as I said?
That's why storyboarding is so important.
But also, all of that stuff, you send that to the accountant, or the line producer, and they go, "Oh, this is going to cost this."
That's
what I mean.
Oh, so my God.
Yeah.
So you're talking to them directly? Like, are you guys?
No. I talk to the directors and producers and whoever else I need to. I was on so many scouting meetings where the lighting guy's there.
Instead of budgeting off the scout or budgeting off the script, you're budgeting off the storyboard, which
you're using it to. You're budgeting off all of that.
Well, yeah,
but you're using the storyboard to go like, "Oh, this is what you wanted.
This is what's in your brain."
Yeah.
Got you.
So like, take like season 6 or 7, I forget. There was. By that point in Vampire Diaries, and you'll remember this probably, is they had so many doppelgangers going on. There's like 3 versions of it. You remember all this? Yeah. So I remember doing a couple episodes where literally the only reason they're having me board it is just to show when it needs to be a stand-in, that they're OTS, versus both the actor doing both parts.
Got you.
There was another one where they had me board it just because they needed to show the visual effect. Sorry, I keep hitting that. They show the visual effect of something happening to someone's arm. And it's like, I'll take a couple $100 just to do that,
Yeah. That's so cool.
But that speaks though, the thing is like from a practical standpoint, again, vision, cost, and cost is honestly probably the most important thing, because even in animation, you have to board, like there's very little done without the framework of a board or previs in animation. Everything has to be plotted out. In live action, you can set up a 2-camera setup, 3-camera setup, right, or you can do a one. You can do a one and then just reset. And as long as you're not breaking your 180, you're good. Mm-hmm. Whereas in animation, you're doing all of that, but you're drawing it. You have to make it. Everything. The thing I have to tell people, and I recently spoke to a bunch of college kids, and I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, you guys are in animation, but you need to think about this from a cost standpoint. Animation, yes, it's like comics. Your budget is unlimited. It's really about time and energy and all that stuff. But what you have to think about is everything has to be designed. Mm-hmm. Everything that has to be designed costs money. Gotcha. You can come into, as we did today, you can come into this space, set up cameras, turn some lights on, and then bam, we're going. Right. If this were an animated thing, everything here has to be designed. Everything here has to be
down to just the pop filter.
The pop filter, the
pop filter, but also, the logo on your shirt, the logo on your shirt, the stuff like, and then also, I also have to sit there. I would have to go through legal, and so can I use this logo on his hat? No.
Yeah.
That's welcome to use this logo.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. So everything comes down to vision and cost. So
okay.
So do you think, like, with your experience of doing both live action and animated, like, which one do you think is more cost effective? Like, is it really just the script and what they want to do, or like, is animated like
it's script and what you want to do? Animation, it really only became okay. People are often shocked by the amount of money that costs to make an episode of Archer, but it's several $100,000. I don't know how much I can say. I mean, I've said it before on podcasts, but now I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be saying that number out loud. but
just a roundabout.
I mean, and the rough budget for Hitmonkey was over 7 figures. For each episode. So it's
for each episode.
Uh-huh.
Oh shit.
So animation costs was 6 figures, but you got to factor in voice talent.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff like that. So like the total production budget. Same thing with Archers. Like it's like the actual animation cost budget is a little bit less, than whatever. But
I thought the animation costs have been higher, actually.
Well, fuck it. The average episode of Archer, from my memory, was $400,000 to $500,000.
Okay.
Okay. And double that for him.
Okay. Okay.
Animation cost.
Got you. Okay.
Which is why, like, I had somebody from the film commission put me in touch with a dude who was just kind of trying to figure out, like, how do I get started on making this animated short I want to make? And when I said that to him, he was like, oh, this 10 minutes is a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be, And I'm like, yeah, because it's like most people don't understand that, like, you can make stuff for way cheap.
Right.
You can make stuff that looks good for way cheap. Not everyone knows how to do that.
And we've had this conversation before, because we thought about, I forgot what we thought about doing an animation thing on. It might have.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Either,
I don't remember what it was, but
it was either Icky or something. I asked him about just like what would it cost just for like a small spot of different animation. He was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, don't do it. I was like, damn.
Oh, that's that period piece that you were talking about.
Oh yeah, the period piece, because I wanted to go back and just be able to show the period through animation more than through live action.
You can do it cheap. It's just you're gonna get cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where if you want something done cheap, you better have a lot of friends and favors.
Same thing as live action.
Same thing as live action. Yeah. So
don't use AI. Don't cut corners.
I will say though that, like, I mean, this set that we're on here, I shot a short film here using Unreal Engine backgrounds. We did it like super low budget. Fortunately, everyone volunteered their time. But if I had actually had to pay for it, it was like 3 minutes short. Paying everyone's time who was here and helped me, plus all that stuff, it probably would have cost me anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah.
And it's not complicated at all. It's but I was just explaining to them. It's like when we were shooting it, it's like it's proof of concepts. We were testing out this as kind of a mini volume kind of thing, and it's like we strapped an Oculus to the top of the Sony camera and used that for you know what I mean, stuff like that. But that's also where like you get it creative. That's part of the problem solving, and like that's one thing that like I did a series of lectures during pandemic called "The Script is a Problem." Mm-hmm. And talking about how it's a problem to be solved, but the clickbaity headline is like, the scripts are a problem, but no, what we do as storytellers, and you know this, but is every level of what we're doing is solving a problem. So as the writer who writes the script is like, okay, my mandate is to create this thing, to make this thing out of a blank page. And so then my mandate as a storyboard artist comes in and goes like, okay, I have, especially on Archer, the average scene probably had anywhere from 4 to 8 people talking. And usually, and you have to figure out how to bounce around all that in a visually interesting way. You know, and that was one of the biggest storytelling things too, is from a storytelling standpoint, those are always tough problems to crack. From a production standpoint, though, you can actually do it fairly cheaply, because if you do it right, you're doing 1 or 2 backgrounds, and then you're doing them big enough that you can punch in, you know, stuff like that. So it's like there's that sort of problem solving as well, you know. And the other thing I say, as far as like, you know, your comparison of storyboarding to an editor, is it doesn't matter how well you draw. How well you draw is a function of clarity, right? Okay. So you can do stick figure storyboards and still have an engaging, like, emotional journey with stuff, because it's how you edit, and it's how, you know, how long, like, so I came up with these kind of rules for myself that helped guide me whenever I got stuck, which is like, it also helped me learn how to edit, and has really helped me as an editor now, doing my short films and stuff like that, and music videos, is like 1, 2, 3, cut. 1, 2, 3, cut. So it's like line, cut. Line, cut. And that's not a hard rule. It's just a, like, Archer says this, cut. Mallory says this, cut. You know, and so it's like, and again,
it's like just like writing music.
Yes, it's a waltz. Yeah, it's exactly it's a waltz. So, and that helps me, and I tell it to people freely, because I'm like, it may not help you at all, but it might help you discover what helps you. You know, but for me, like, that's the other thing too is to learn. There's this. I don't know how much this term has come up with you guys, but we use a term called frame fucking, where it's like you're literally chopping a frame here, adding a frame here, and it can make a world of difference sometimes. Like, sometimes it's literally just those 1 or 2 extra frames takes something from feeling like it's dragging to like, oh, it moves now. You know?
Yeah. I understand that. I've never called it that, but I definitely.
It's just what we called it, because it's like you're just getting in there and just like, all right, try moving it, hair this way. Nope. Okay. Hair that way. Nope. Okay. Cut it. You know? Yeah.
So staying on storyboard, then what's the most important aspect of it visually then?
Composition and clarity. So I stole this from Chris McQuarrie, the guy who's done the last few Mission Impossibles. He's one of my favorite writer-directors. But it's clarity and geography. Okay. So, and I think about it's something that I did subconsciously, but hearing him talk about it really cemented what it is for me. And I'll put it this way, which is, you have 2 types of clarity in geography. You have literal visual clarity, where are the characters at, what's the composition look like, is it interesting to look at, do we understand what's going on? And then you have literal geography, where are the characters at in relationship to each other, where are the characters at in relation to an environment, and stuff like that. Then you have emotional clarity. What are you feeling while you're watching this? Is it clear? Do you understand? And is the character's emotions that they're trying to convey clear? And emotional geography. Where are we at? Where did we come from? Where are we going? You know what I mean? And he has never said it that long-winded. I made it that long-winded, because that's what I do.
That's a good example, though.
But it's one of those things where it's and the other thing too is you get a lot of people that get hung up on plot and all this other stuff, and it's like, no, focus on emotional through line, like, where are you, like, what do you want people to feel? You know, and that goes back to the joke is king. You want people to fucking laugh. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really is like the problem solving thing is like, what am I butting up against here? And it gets into, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, where like oftentimes you'll hear a joke or hear a line so many times that it becomes, you're not laughing anymore. That doesn't mean it's not funny. It means like you're inured to it. So you have to constantly be stepping outside yourself and go like, is this still funny to someone who has not seen this before? Yeah. That sort of thing. Or is this still, just because I'm dead inside doesn't mean somebody else is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are. I mean, that's great advice. Like, and that's almost in any medium, right? Like,
yeah, everything, because it's all storytelling and it's all problem solving. You know, it's okay. I'm not feeling the tension between these 2 characters. Okay, do they need to be closer to each other physically? Do we need to? And this is where like sound can help sometimes. You know, like sound. So that's something actually that a lot of people probably don't know or realize, is that everything we did at Floyd, and I don't know how other animation companies work because I've only worked for the one. But everything we did started as a radio play. So we're boarding, but we're rarely boarding to audio. But so they're putting together what they call the radio play, which is that they've done all of the actors' voices, and then our radio play editor, I forget what the title is.
Radio play editor.
That's not the actual title.
You know what? But I believe that there's somebody who.
No, but that's what they do. That's what they do.
Say,
Like but they call it a radio play because you listen to the show with Foley, with effects, with sound effects, all the voices, people talking over each other.
You feel.
And because I sat next to one of the main producers for several years. Like his desk was right here, it's him. So I would look over and he would just be on his headphones all day just doing this. And I'm like, what the fuck does this guy even do? And then come to find out, like, oh, he's listening to these radio plays over and over and over, giving note, like he's producing, but in a way that just looks like he's just sitting there like,
I've never heard
shout out to Casey, he's awesome. But like if it doesn't, it's kind of like the storyboard thing. If it doesn't work in stick figures or circle head box bodies, the better you draw it, doesn't get any better story wise. Right. Same thing with the radio play. It doesn't. That picture will only help if the dialogue is in the sweet spot, and that doesn't apply. I don't think that applies to everything, but it's definitely when you're talking about animation and when you're talking about especially when these days, audience attention span.
Yeah.
Are they actually watching? Mm-hmm. Or just listening, Yeah.
Takes 3 seconds.
No, I think like that really ties back to like how important, especially with a visual medium, like if it's filmmaking or even content, like, yes, like you're telling a story the second the video starts, and sound and visuals are tied in together. Like they're not separate at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how you use those, like I've seen a lot of videos recently go viral of like the Ring camera stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, facts.
And it's like super low res. Like a lot of people are saying they're fake and they're like doing it just to get views or whatever. But like it's the second you click on that, you know what to expect as an audience. Yeah. And like it's not going to cut. There shouldn't be any like super crazy editing because you believe it's real.
Mm-hmm. Is there a movie done from a Ring camera too out right? Like, didn't that happen?
I mean, there's one that happened over a pandemic that was that was from laptop cameras or Zoom cameras.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know about the Ring camera one, but yeah.
So we've talked about, Archer. Now what about Hitmonkey? So
Sure.
Tell us about how that.
I storyboarded on 10 seasons of Archer total. It was like 9 seasons straight, and then we did a movie called America, the motion picture for Netflix. So I worked a little bit on that. A lot of my work on that was restructuring. Like I did a bunch of work restructuring the Act 3 battle scene and stuff like that. And I'll be honest,
you have not seen that movie.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't.
You haven't even.
What's
seen
it about?
No,
I don't know.
I watched it.
Give us a quick recap.
It's a drunk history retelling of the formation of America.
Like it is so good.
Like Einstein is an Asian lady,
But they had stars in this movie too. Like real stars did this movie, and I was like.
Channing Tatum, Olivia Munn, bunch of fun
good
cast,
for honestly, that's one thing I will like. Netflix does have some good animation. I will say that.
No, and we really broke a lot of not we as in me, but the team broke some amazing, incredible ground just with animation techniques. Like I won't bore everybody, but there's this thing called in harmony where you rig the character and you rig all these points to be movable. And they built these heads that had what they call master controllers in them. That they had one drawing, but one drawing could do like a full, like it was almost like it was 3D, but it was animated. So they could, it is crazy. There's stuff. If anybody gets bored and wants to look it up, you just look up. Floyd County, America process, and there's probably some videos on YouTube talking about it, but yeah. I worked on that, and then we were making another show that I can't talk about, and I'll tell you off screen, but I was in the middle of developing the pilot for that, had spent developing, we were developing the look. I wrote a style guide for how to board the damn show, stuff like that, and then due to creative differences between the studio and the showrunner, it fell apart and went away. But it was good because the show probably wouldn't have been any good. Visually, it would have looked awesome. But,
gotcha.
But the writing wasn't super great. But anyways, that led into, and I've worked on. I'd previously spent a year doing, in between working on Archer stuff, like developing another pilot that we made the full pilot, and it was awesome. Fucking again, showrunner differences with with each other and with the network, and it just went away. And then do America, and then that's when Hitmonkey kind of came around, and we did a pitch pilot for it. It was kind of like, and the same thing. I hate it because it happens in comics, happens in TV, film, stuff like that. And in comics we call it a bake-off, where an editor will want to say they want to do a new Ghost Rider. Well, instead of just going to one guy and saying, what's your pitch on Ghost Rider? They'll go to 10 guys. Give me your pitch on Ghost Rider. And then these guys don't know that they're competing with others. But you learn to assume. You do it enough times, you learn to assume.
Producers do that too with other producers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it is. And you know,
That's what happened to me last year with that whole NPC. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, but it's super common. It's super gross, but I don't see it stopping anytime because people are very unwilling to have honest conversations. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we were in a bake-off, but we knew we were with other studios.
Right.
And then we ended up getting it, getting Hit Monkey. And I'm glad we did because it really changed my relationship with making things in a good way because I had been ingratiating myself into various departments, but I was art director on season 1. So then I had to essentially be the person, like everything flows through me to some degree as far as like what it looks like, what it's gonna, you know, that sort of thing. And so that was good. It also though started in 2019 and then 2020, we're still making season 1. Pandemic happens and we're in a studio of 200 plus people and we have to go to work from home and everyone has to figure out how to directing over Zoom fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But we had to do it. So it's like, you know, and we're having to have, I went from having a meeting a day and people just wandering into my office as needed to having
10 meetings.
Yeah. All my day is just fucking Zoom meetings because that's the only way to communicate with people. And, you know, yeah.
Slack's too slow for that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, and then and to be honest, I did not handle it well. I didn't handle pandemic well. I didn't handle that well. Like I went through a massive depression, and then finally, you know, and I'll talk about this as openly as I can. But like, my bosses had to be like, "Dude, you're fucking up. Fix your shit," you know. And they were much nicer about it. I was just like, "Oh fuck," you know, it was a good wake up call, you know. And you need
that sometimes.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah. And I really worked to turn myself around on it and did, you know, and then it took the network about 9 months to decide if they were going to do season 2. And there's a whole bunch of fucking bullshit behind that, but they did decide to do season 2. And in that interim, I boarded on season 13 of Archer. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because I was back as a board artist and working under people I had trained.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was interesting. Like we had some issues with an employee, so I ended up getting back into a leadership position that I did not. I enjoyed it, but I was not looking forward to it. I was looking forward to just coasting and just boarding. I'm like, oh man, I can do this for like a season,
right?
You know, because at that point I had been so busy and working, you know, like 60, 70-hour weeks art directing, and you know, just because sometimes you're sitting there late on a Friday night just trying to make sure the fucking cut uploads so that the producers can watch it, and over the weekend, and you have notes on Monday. Yeah. So you're there till the render farm crashed. Gotta get it. Okay. You know, shit like
a
that.
Nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's if you enjoy the process, if you enjoy what you're doing, then it's just more like, all right, watch the fucking render farm and it crashed. Okay,
just do it all over.
Do it all over again, and then I'll just go back to reading a book or whatever. You know. Yeah. And then they did finally greenlight season 2, and that's I moved into director role, and the director role on that we actually segmented it even further. So like in season 1, as art director, I was boards director, art director, had my boss as a director, boards directing, you know, like above me. Right. So on this, he took more of a producing director role, overseeing, you know, everything more, and then we split. The art director on season 2 didn't touch anything that I was doing, and I would weigh in on stuff that he was doing, but it was more like we're giving notes, to, top down notes, you know, stuff like that. But so anyway, so I ended up running 2 different boards teams because of the production schedule. So we had odds and evens. So I had a team of like 4 or 5 on, you know, each side. No, it was like 6 on each side. Yeah. So I'm constantly running, and so directing them, directing that, working. I'm in all the VO sessions, as many as I could be, you know, when things weren't on fire with boards, you know. Yeah. Working, I'm in every edit session. So it's like still working from home, still Zoom, you know, in every single edit session. A lot of like, you know, and some of it's just like sitting here, like me working. I would be in with the editors, and it's 2 editors. So it's like 1 editor, odds and evens, you know? Right. So it's like, hey, this editor needs this. Okay, I got to hop out of this editing meeting and go join that editor, you know? And my boss is,
you mean odds and evens, you mean scenes or episodes?
Episodes. Okay. Yeah. So the team that did, everybody was all hands on deck on, I think, on episode 1, and we were still hiring a little bit, but then we split off but also I had, unfortunately, I had a massive health scare where I almost died, like right as we started production. So I had a week in the hospital and all this other shit. Yeah, it was, you know, it was not fun. But unfortunately, though, we had hired good people, and unfortunately, my boss, he's directed and run boards, so he was like, all right, he jumped in, got the ball rolling, so I was thankful, and I was thankful that I had picked right, and that the two leads. Yeah. So I'm directing, but there's the two team leads. Yeah. And they're kind of like the filter up to me. So like they deal with all the all the bullshit. And they give them notes and stuff like that. They were rock stars, and they really kind of made it so much easier, so that when I was healthy, it's like I probably missed like 2 weeks or something like that. Okay. Hospital time and then recovery time, and then I was just like, I'm getting back to work. No. So, and then we made season 2. The writers and actors strikes happened. A lot of overall deals went away. They cut production, and so a lot of the stuff that I was set up to do after Hit Monkey just went away, and I saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, I'm not going to have any money coming in. I need to get the fuck out of Atlanta because it's more and more expensive. It's an expensive town. Yeah. It's not cheap to live there anymore. It truly got expensive. And so I started dating someone from here anyway. So I was already in a long distance relationship. Parents are here, and they're getting older. So it's just, it's easier if I'm around.
For sure.
Made more sense.
Yeah. And the thing that I try to be honest about, especially because I have a tendency to, I'm working on a podcast called No One Fucking Cares, and it's basically a way for me to deal with the fact that it feels like nobody cares about me or what I'm doing. But the real thing is that's very myopic and selfish. It's like nobody cares. Everybody feels this way. Right. So we're not alone in that feeling. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do we sit there? It's me processing, for the lack of a better term, it's me processing the grief of I am no longer this person. I spent 13 years doing this, and now that has, maybe it'll come back. I don't know. Maybe I'll get back into TV. I have no idea. I don't, that's, some of it's not for me to decide, It
just depends on where it leads, where the road leads.
But it's where my life has taken me, and that's the thing is, it's like, so how, it's like being in a relationship for that long. It's like there's a mourning period, and so I'm still working on processing a lot of that stuff, and some of it healthy, some of it not. So,
I get you.
Yeah.
So I have a question about just like how the industry has shifted, in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's and I don't even have my finger on the pulse of all of it, but the biggest shifts have been, and this isn't just because of the AI stuff. It's just that there is no. And you see this socially, politically, like whatever, there's no middle class anymore. Yeah, it's either super low or super high budget.
That is real true.
It's like, which is what you're talking about, these viral ring camera videos. It's like that, but then there's Mr. Beast. And the middle in between is not really there, and same thing with TV, same thing with movies, same thing with animation.
Same thing with creators. Dang, now I realize it. Indie filmmakers are really just low middle class, low or poor middle class.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, like, you used to, like, 70s, 80s, even 90s, there was, like, $5 to $15 million movies that, that's where they lived solidly. Like, and you could count on that, and they could at least make their money back, if not become sleeper hits or something like that, where it's like,
DVD sales are still a thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like the vehicle that would generate revenue completely evaporated, right?
Like streaming happened.
Streaming.
Well, it is too, but also you have to look at the, for lack of a better term, the greediness. When you have movies that are making, $500 million worldwide, that becomes that's their heroine. That's the dragon they're chasing.
So then let's tie this back into Archer real quick.
Well, in Archer, I don't know where you're going with that, but the thing I will say is, it's like, if you watch season 14 and go back and watch season 1, it's a very different show.
That is very true. That is very true. I was just gonna say more politicalized. Like, what were the political challenges?
The political challenges were the original episodes are, and it's very self-aware of this, but the original episodes are very sexist, semi-racist, stuff like that, and those are all the things to love about it, in that it knows it's doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
We all are 100%
know the joke, and we love the joke.
Archer is a sexist addict. And his mother is a racist manipulator. Alcoholic. They're all alcoholics.
Yeah, they are alcoholics.
I mean, shit, season 5, they became cocaine smugglers.
Yeah, facts. Facts.
That's great.
But we can talk about Archer all week.
Yeah. But I would say, that's one of the biggest things tonally, was just reading the room and going okay, we can make a funny show without having to do some of the more crass stuff that we came from, you know? Because if you go back and watch Frisky Dingo, it's even more crass than Archer. You know, it's like, so if anything, like, and the other thing too is out of necessity, and this is not a bad thing, I think it ended up being a boon for the show and helped it keep going, was the guy who created the show wrote almost every episode for 10 seasons.
That does help.
And it helps, but it also contributes to his own burnout, you know. So, but it's also bringing in new voices, bringing in other perspectives. But fortunately, we had, you know, like Casey, the producer I mentioned earlier, he became like, is this Archer? You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And you know, and he and the writing staff, like, you know, they worked to really
follow QC about it at that point now.
Yeah, but I mean, they work to maintain the voice while still doing new things, you know.
And how do you do new things like in animation? Because obviously with Archer, it can get, I can guess it can get, like scenes could get repetitive.
Sure, and you want to lean into, and I don't have, you know, that's a good question for someone like a producer like Casey or whatever, but the thing that
Casey, if you're around, we'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yes, we would.
Yeah, I'll hit him up and see if he'll do it. It would have to be a Zoom thing because he's in Atlanta.
That's fine.
But the thing that I would say is, sorry, I'm just trying to lose my thought here. What were we saying?
Political.
It's, you use repetition because the audience, you don't have to explain things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
gotcha.
So it's like you don't have to explain Pam's character anymore by season 13, 14. You just have to say, okay, how is she different now?
Exactly.
That's what you're doing.
Okay.
It's what when you have something on a long enough timeline, like a Batman or a Superman or whatever, there is no new story. It's just what's new for the time, what's new for the person's voice who's doing it. You can, you know, as we've seen with all these remakes and reboots, it's all the same elements, just getting like, okay, presented to you in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
The political thing, as far as like, I can't really speak to what a lot of the out of my pay grade stuff going on was, but I think the most visible example of it, and we put it in the show, is their headquarters, their company was named ISIS.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, so like
Truly the butt of the joke.
Yeah, and so we started a season with them rolling the ISIS logo out of the building. Or no, we blew up ISIS, and then we're rolling it out of like Mallory's storing all the stuff in a and so yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it's like that's kind of how you deal with some of it.
You had to address it head on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're running out of battery on our camera, but yeah, is there any other questions that you had lined up? We have like 5% left on the camera.
I got like 5% left. Honestly, this is already going to be like a 2-part episode too, which I love this honestly already.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like I told you at the beginning, like only an hour. Like,
no. Let's get to our gritty answer then. What's your take on where the industry is going progressively, or how would you like to see it progress?
Man, that's tough because it's, you know, for so many of us, it's gone in ways that are not healthy for us as individuals, but I can't speak for the whole, you know?
Right.
What I can say, though, is I am heartened by, especially if you look at it on a micro level, like places like Kansas City on the come up, like, you know, and it's got its problems, but if it feels like it could be Atlanta 2007, you know, like it just needs, we need for lack of a better term, we need a Walking Dead, you know, we need a show, and it doesn't have, the show itself really almost doesn't matter. It needs to be something that films here for 9 to 10 months and ingratiates the people who aren't here with the people who are, and provides stepping stones for the people who are here. We need to be training and hiring local, emphasis on training, because a lot of stuff that is disheartening about, and I'm only speaking to here because it's where we're at.
I love that though.
But
actually,
a lot of stuff that's disheartening about what feels like what's going on is it's a lot of like, we need to attract shiny Hollywood production. We need to attract shiny out of state, and it's like, no, we need to be building up and developing things in state.
Amen.
Even if the idea comes from out of state, we need to focus on staffing and creating in.
And you saw this firsthand being in Atlanta, so that's why
I came in, you know, like 2012 post Walking Dead boom in the places. So it's like there already were location tours going on, you know what I mean, stuff like that. But it was cool because like I could go and I like
and Marvel just stepped into
a lot of season 1 was shot at an art gallery. Like it just doesn't look like an art gallery. They made it look all fucked up and all that. But like when you go there, and it's like, oh, this is, you know. Yeah. And Marvel came in, and well, that's actually a huge problem. Is part of the death of the middle class is the literal death of the middle class, and that they came in, they bought a bunch of sound studios, shot at a bunch of sound studios, staffed up, thousands of people working there, and then and there have been articles talking about this, so I'm not saying anything out of touch, but there have been articles. A lot of that stuff has picked up and left and gone to England.
Right.
So there's not, like, a good example is, this has to do with the writers and actors strikes, has to do with the Marvel stuff, has to do with the overall deals being canceled and all that. It's all compounding. But the statistic I saw a little bit ago was there, a couple years ago, 2022, stuff like that, 400 productions going on in Atlanta at any given time. Now there's a little over 100. And that's everywhere. That's Los Angeles too. Like, because at one point last year, I think it's gotten back up a little bit. They were saying the Directors Guild, Producers Guild, we're talking about how 70% of their membership were largely unemployed. Yeah. And I think that's animation, that's games, that's that's crazy. Google gaming layoffs or game company layoffs, and you'll see every week a new company, not new, but every week a new company is laying off 1,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever. Stuff like
is it because they're going overseas? Is it an AI thing? Like what?
It's a lot of it is it comes down to there's no middle ground. They spend $100 million making a game, and it doesn't make that back the first week or two, and then they're fucked. That happens in movies. Like,
is that why they're so scared to drop GTA, you think?
Yeah. Well, no, they're not. So at this point, they've spent billions of dollars.
Literally have spent $1 billion on this one game.
But it has to be fucking good. Now. Yeah, and it's the same thing with all these movies too. It's like it has to, like, you have these movies like, what just came out
recently that was good.
Frankenstein was a huge.
No, but there was like Tron Ares. They spent $150 million making that movie, and it made like 80.
And but here's the thing though too, because they say this about all the Trons, is that they don't ever market them well.
No, they don't. I mean, that's it. Yeah.
Did you see the whole thing about the Frankenstein?
No, not yet. But I heard. That they didn't. How Netflix basically just use it as award bait. That pissed me off too.
Made, I think box office numbers like $128,000.
Yeah, it's still
because that's not that they don't care about that.
Yeah,
and it's still. But I did see it's at Screenland, so I rather go see it at Screenland before I go see it on Netflix.
But it's the Apple HBO problem. In that it's not a problem. It's just the business model. In that
user retention.
They're not. Apple does not need Apple TV to make money.
No.
Because that's a drop in the bucket. HBO, they make stuff for awards, not for, and same thing with, like, there was that really creative period with FX where it's like It's Always Sunny, Louie, and all that, where they're doing stuff.
Archer was really hitting too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're really, like, they cared about awards, like, So, and for good reason, it allows them to up their advertising money, so.
Exactly.
I mean, do we have enough percentage left for him to talk about any inspiration, or are we out?
I think we're at 2%.
We're at 2%. If you got any advice for any future animators out there, any future filmmakers,
sure. Don't quit your day job until you absolutely have to, and learn how to do your taxes. Learn accounting.
Yeah,
like
those are all real facts. Those are all real good facts.
That's the one thing they don't teach you in art school. In any level of art school is they don't focus on the money, because you are not an artist, you're a business.
Yeah,
love that.
The creative aspect.
I'm dropping a bomb.
Right.
Yeah. You didn't hear it, but it was loud.
Man, Kevin, thank you again so much. We really do appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back on too, because I feel like there's more that we can unlock with Kevin.
There's so much we can talk about.
Like, I hope you guys had great. Please, where can we follow you? Where can we check out your stuff?
KevinMellon.com, @KMellon on Instagram. 2 L's.
All right.
It's 2 L's. This has been Filming in Progress. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Peace.